On the Brody File this week, will Dr. Ben Carson run for president? The Brody File on the case as we sit down with the good doctor.
It is not something that I desire to do. I would be a horrible politician.
But does he leave the door open? We're going to explore. Also, one-on-one with Oliver North. Let's just say he's not a fan of President Obama.
The example that this president has set for this country damns our children's future to a world that is at far greater risk than it should be.
Plus, President Obama's faith advisor is here, and the church lady here too, with a modern-day version of Ben-Hur, Jesus style. Buckle up, America, the Brody File, next. And welcome everybody to another riveting, scintillating, compelling, tremendous, exhilarating, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious edition of the Brody File. You know, this may be the Brody File, actually the best show we've ever done this week. Of course, it is the only show we've done this week, but hey, who's counting? So we begin with the good doctor. Now, can you guess who we're talking about? We are not talking about Dr. Zhivago or Doctor Who or Dr. Doolittle. No, not even Dr. Oz. And by the way, not even Doogie Howser, MD, or even Doc Ock. That's right, Dr. Octopus. Forget all of them. We're talking about Dr. Ben Carson, the retired neurosurgeon, is really one of the most interesting storylines in conservative circles today. Ever since he ripped Obamacare in a speech right in front of the president, he has become the darling of conservatives. Now, there's an effort underway to get him to run for president, and his answer, well, put it this way, he's not saying no. If he does run, you can be sure that his number one public policy issue is going to be Obamacare. So here's the interview that the Brody File conducted for One America News Network. Now, you're going to be seeing these interviews from time to time since I am a contributor for their new cable network. It should come as no surprise that Dr. Ben Carson says he has the right prescription for the healthcare crisis in this country. Oh, and memo to the White House, it's not Obamacare. His political action committee, called American Legacy, has a new venture that's called Save Our Healthcare. It's a petition drive where Americans sign up to tell Congress that there are better solutions on healthcare.
It's very important because if we don't do anything, if we just kind of sit back and complain, then it'll keep being changed by executive fiat. And eventually it will be thrust upon us and we'll be able to do nothing. So with the Save Our Healthcare portion of the American Legacy PAC, we are accumulating enormous amount of not only signatures, but support. And we want to take this to the Congress, and we want them to fully understand that people are not happy with this, not because it doesn't go far enough, as the left claims, but because it is a government takeover of healthcare, and it's inefficient and it doesn't work.
The good doctor thinks there's even a bigger problem. It's called government control over people's lives.
People, I think, for the most part, do not understand that when you take the most important thing you have and you put it under government control, you are relinquishing an enormous amount of control, and you are fundamentally changing the nation.
So, will Carson want to fundamentally change the nation by running for president? There's an active draft Ben Carson for president campaign. There's this national draft Ben Carson for president movement out there. What do you make of the movement, and how serious would you consider something like this for the presidency?
Well, as I've said before, that it is not something that I desire to do. I would be a horrible politician because I don't believe in political correctness, and there's no way I'm getting in bed with a bunch of special interest groups. It's just not going to happen. So I don't know if that makes for a viable political candidate. But, I will continue to monitor the situation and see what happens. If somebody comes along and they really get a lot of traction and everybody's gung-ho and they're saying the right things and they've got the right philosophy, I'll be right behind them with everybody else. And if that doesn't happen and the movement continues to grow, I would be un-American not to pay attention to it.
Well, that's Ben Carson here on the Brody File. All right, now let's turn to our other big interview, retired Colonel Oliver North. He is None too happy about the Obama administration when it comes to how they've handled the situation in the Ukraine. Now, Vladimir Putin is controlling the show over there, and the Obama administration hasn't done much. Now, yeah, sanctions, okay, there have been a few sanctions, but the reality is that Putin doesn't feel much U.S. pressure at all, and he has obviously clearly shown that the last month or so. And so, all of this has Oliver North frustrated beyond belief. You know, we sat down with him recently to discuss the fragile situation in the Ukraine. Oliver North says Putin holds all the cards in the Ukrainian crisis because he controls the oil.
They all know that Putin can flick a switch and shut off the lights in Amsterdam because 7 out of 11 major Russian pipelines flow through Ukraine. Obama knows that Putin can shut off the logistics route into northern Afghanistan, meaning we can't get out and we can't get stuff in without Putin. In other words, all of what this president has done has failed us in terms of our national security.
But North's words get even tougher for this president. He believes we are a weaker nation because of President Obama.
The Obama administration's lack of leadership has actually encouraged people like Putin, and there's others like him in the world. And so if you're in Amman, Jordan, or Jerusalem, or in Seoul, or in Manila, or Tokyo, where we have allies, and who are counting on us to exercise peace through strength, we failed them. And we failed them because this administration doesn't believe in American exceptionalism, doesn't believe in leading. I've got a lifetime of experience with leadership, some of it bad, some of it good. I know that the only way to lead is from the front and by example. The example that this president has set for this country damns our children's future to a world that is at far greater risk than it should be. The defense cuts that he's making, the accommodations he's made with despots like Putin, the promises that the so-called international community will do the right thing without leadership are all wrong.
And North counts the inability of this president to start building a Keystone pipeline as a major problem from an energy perspective.
The American continent, starting in Baffin Bay and going all the way south to Tierra del Fuego, is totally energy independent of the rest of the world. The United States of America is now the #1 natural gas producer in the world. It is inconceivable to me that we're going to accommodate some kind of globalist agenda, not to use our own resources, not to allow our Canadian allies, the closest ones that we have, to bring oil into this country with the XL pipeline. It is inconceivable. But in the Obama administration, that's what they believe is good policy. It's damning our children's future.
Oliver North here on the Brody File. Nice music. Boom, boom, boom. All right, when we come back, President Obama's spiritual advice, and later, a new ad campaign by the GOP, who it's targeting and why.
Millions of Americans with an ostomy live their lives to the fullest every day. And over the last 10 years, thousands have chosen Liberator Medical as their caring and reliable resource for ostomy supplies. Liberator Medical is a nationally accredited Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance provider, so we can handle all your Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance paperwork and billing. And Liberator Medical has been chosen as a preferred supplier by all the leading ostomy manufacturers, including Coloplast, Hollister, Convatec, and Generics. We supply all these leading ostomy brands so you can always get the ostomy supplies and accessories you want and trust. And all of our ostomy care specialists are product certified by the manufacturers. Shipping is free and discreetly delivered right to your door. Unhappy with your present ostomy supplier? Call Liberator Medical and ask about our free ostomy sampling program. We also offer catheters and urological supplies.
Call 1-800-513-3076. That's 1-800-513-3076.
Pat Boone here with some good news you can trust. Today, our faith, families, and our freedoms are under attack. Polls say 2 out of 3 Americans no longer trust government. A stalled economy, weakening dollar, and politicians willing to steal money from our children to waste on unfixable problems. So, whom can you trust? Well, our money still says in God we trust. But do we? Or have we quietly allowed the things we hold sacred to be stolen by the enemies of traditional values? Today, our government spends almost twice its income, running up a tab for future generations into the hundreds of trillions. How can you stop this from happening to your family? Well, it's all covered in a fantastic new book, The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Dr. Lowell Ponte. Every American needs to read this book. Why don't you call now for a free copy of The Great Withdrawal? It's the simple truth you can trust.
And welcome back. Well, as you well know, this past week, people around the world celebrated the life, death, and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ with Easter services. Now, church parking lots across the country were packed. There is no doubt about that. Yeah, that's pretty much it right there. Yeah, take a look. That's Easter service right there. But what do you do when the President of the United States pays a visit to your pew on Sunday morning? Well, you welcome him with an open arm, of course. And the first family celebrated Easter Sunday at the 19th Street Baptist Church in D.C. So get this, apparently the typical stand and shake hands with your neighbor, you know, that part at the start of the service, it lasted more than 5 minutes as people swarmed the first family in an attempt to snap pictures. And you thought you had trouble finding an empty seat at service on Sunday. All right, well, speaking of the president and faith, longtime Obama spiritual advisor Joshua Dubois recently left his position at the White House. Dubois served in that position since the president's first election in 2008. Now, to find out more about his departure and future, Jenny in the B Block joins us with the former pastor-in-chief himself.
David, Joshua Dubois is the youngest person to ever head a White House office, and now the former director of the White House Office of Faith-Based Initiatives and Neighborhood Partnerships is the author of The President's Devotional, a compilation of daily Christian devotions that he sends to President Obama. Joshua, welcome.
It's wonderful to be with you, Jennifer. Thank you for having me.
The president has said these have meant the world to him. What inspired you or motivated you to start doing this?
And one day I thought, you know, this is a guy who has a lot of different support around him. He has policy advisors and political support, but I wondered who was thinking about his soul. And so I decided to get up the gumption to send him an email, an encouraging word to begin his day. The first one was a meditation on the 23rd Psalm, and got his email address and sent it off. Didn't know if I was going to get fired for emailing him, but he wrote me back and said, Joshua, this is exactly what I needed this morning. Would you do this every day? And 6 years later, I've been sending them every single morning.
Oh, and these are all Christ-centered devotions.
This is a Bible-based devotional. It is about the life and death and resurrection of Jesus and what we can learn from our Savior in our daily walk.
Do you take into consideration what's going on in the world, or do you just kind of, wait for God to speak to you?
Really try to focus on more eternal principles. You know, how do we grow closer to God each day? How do we get a clarity of purpose where we understand why we're doing what we're doing? How do we love our neighbors, even those who are difficult to love? And so really try to speak to some of these eternal principles using both scripture and history and culture. So you'll see everyone from Abraham Lincoln to Johnny Cash reflected in the devotionals.
Dubois has seen the president through several controversies, but perhaps none were as hot as the contraception mandate in Obamacare that pitted Christians against Dubois' boss.
You write that in many instances you felt that you were the only person in the administration advocating for religious liberty. And you say, speaking of some senior White House officials, you write, their inability to make this relatively small concession to religious organizations seemed to me unreasonable at best, and at worst, destructive. Tell us about what a delicate time this was for you in your position.
Well, it was a very tough time. And the thing that essay in the book, in the President's Devotional, really illuminates is how I had to learn to deal a little bit better with disagreement, even when I disagree with folks that I care about and that I work with and that I'm close to. You know, I started in a place where I was questioning their motives and integrity and so forth. And God really shook me up and said that you can have a passionate disagreement on a really important issue, but you've still got to treat others with love and respect.
Right now, the president is facing the lowest approval numbers of his presidency. He's going through a tough time. Do you feel like he's going to be able to bounce back from this?
I really do, and I think we serve a big God with a very long time horizon. One thing that the President's Devotional, the book, really speaks to is really having a sense of perspective that, this is an eternal race that we're in. It's not defined by any one issue, any one policy concern, although policies and issues are important. But it's about walking a very long walk with an eternal God.
Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
And David, again, the book is The President's Devotional, and you can go and buy it anywhere books are sold.
All right, thanks, Jenny. Coming up next on the Brody File, the church lady, Tracy Winborn, back with an amazing story of a modern take on a classic Easter tale.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
And welcome back to the Brody File. All right, Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, is one of those classic must-see Easter movies. The 1959 version starring Charlton Heston may be the most popular. However, did you know there was also a 1925 silent film version which apparently is making a comeback? Well, someone who knows all about it is the church lady. She has more from her front row pew.
David, the 1925 film Ben-Hur is epic, and now the movie is making a comeback, and it even has a new soundtrack composed by one of the greatest drummers of all time. Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, is based on a novel written by General Lew Wallace. The MGM silent film wowed audiences in 1925 with its special effects and action sequences like this famous chariot race. It tells the story of a life-altering encounter between a Jewish prince and the Messiah.
The emotional charge of the film, the emotional through line, are the parallel stories of Jesus Christ and Ben-Hur, and how they interact at the crucial moment on the way to Calvary.
Composer Stuart Copeland has a heart for the movie Ben-Hur, and he's bringing the silent film back to life. Copeland is best known as the drummer for the band The Police. Now Copeland has a new passion.
That was the biggest silent film ever made. This huge, enormous film that took years. It cost $4 million in 1925. And you know, when you see the film, the scale, they got their money's worth, I would say.
Copeland composed a new soundtrack for Ben-Hur, but what many people don't realize is that he also spent 3 years digitizing the film to enhance the quality. That process began with a trip down to the vault at Warner Brothers Studio to dig out the original footage out of the archives.
So we went down to the freezer, or they went down to the freezer, and pulled out the 80-year-old cans, and it took 10 days to defrost. They'd get all the prints together and get the best reels, the least scratched reels, and piece that together, and that would go into the archive. And that's what I've got, is the best, cleanest reels of all the different reels. And so we digitized, but there's a lot of scratches on it. And so began a journey.
Copeland analyzed the scenes and sequences to create a 90-minute version of the movie that he could perform a musical score to. And this past Easter weekend, Copeland, along with the Virginia Arts Festival Orchestra, performed the soundtrack for the first time.
This is the least nervous I've ever been.
Copeland plans to take his show on the road. Next stop it will be in Chicago in the fall. In the meantime, he says he doesn't know what to do with himself because he poured the last 3 years of his heart and soul into this project.
When I get home from Virginia, my life will be an empty void. I've been on this movie for 3 years. I'm beyond excited. I can't wait to get out there and show folks what I've been doing.
Well, believe it or not, out of Copeland's long list of musical accomplishments, he said it's his work on Ben-Hur that's touched him the most. David, back to you.
That is the church lady. Thanks, Tracy. All right, when we come back, we go down under with the incredible story of Nick Adams. He is not supposed to be alive. To tell us about this story, back in a moment.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need, just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions, just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card, just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
And welcome back to the Brody File, everybody. All right, look, well, we know that there is a certain stigma attached to the GOP, that the party is only made up of one type of voter. Well, Republicans are facing that assumption head on now with a new ad campaign called Create Your American Dream. Have a look.
I believe in opportunity for all.
I think children should be the focus of our education system.
I believe a strong military equals a strong America.
I believe there shouldn't be so much red tape.
I vote for religious freedom.
Every human life is worth protecting.
I vote for an all-of-the-above energy policy.
Well, the campaign features people from varying ages and ethnicities describing why they're a Republican. The GOP is hoping the ads attract voters previously wooed by the Obama administration that may be turned off by, well, the last 2 years. Now, unfortunately, the ads are being ripped apart by one of the groups it's targeting. Millennials are actually kind of ripping this. At one point, one person wrote, quote, "Definitely one of the best vote Democrat ads out there." Ouch. All right. However, there is one young conservative that may be able to teach the GOP a thing or two. Conservative political commentator Nick Adams. He's written 2 books on conservatism. The first one, America, the Greatest Good, and Exceptional America, a message of hope from a modern day de Tocqueville. Recently, the Brody File sat down with Adams as he shared the incredible story of his love for America and beating the odds at a young age. Look, you're a guy from Australia who has fallen in love with America. What has that been like? Explain your journey a little bit here.
From a young boy, I was always fascinated by what America had to offer, compelled by its story, interested in its future. And so over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been coming to America quite regularly. And I've been absolutely privileged to be able to meet so many Americans of different stripes right across the country, from east to west, from north to south, where I've gone, and I've spoken to them about what America means to me and what America means to the world, because sometimes, David, it takes someone on the outside to remind you what you're like on the inside.
And what has America kind of lost that you'd like to see her, if you will, recapture here?
Well, America's always been an incredibly confident country, and it pains me enormously that America is losing some of that confidence. It seems to have lost its self-belief, and in years gone by, David, American self-belief and American optimism has been almost like a force of nature. And yet America is going through what I would call an identity crisis, because it has allowed itself to be somewhat attacked by the agenda of the secular left, who I think are promoting values and ideas and an approach that is completely the opposite of what America was founded on and what America is all about.
Before you get out of here, I am curious a little bit about your personal story, maybe your faith journey. You beat cancer at a young age. Tell me a little bit about your personal journey here.
When I was 16 months old, David, I was diagnosed with neuroblastoma, which is a form of childhood cancer. When I was diagnosed with stage 4. And any child with stage 4 neuroblastoma is given a 5% chance of survival. And through the grace of God, I was able to defeat cancer. I had an operation, I had chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and you know, I fought and thankfully I don't remember much, but I know the enormous impact it had on my mum and dad and how it affected their lives. And, you know, in some ways it's made me the person who I am today. I don't believe that there's any adversity that I can't overcome.
Wow, good day, mate.
Good day.
That's great. Nick Adams on the Brody File. All right, when we come back, a double shot of our Oy Vey moment of the week.
Do you have an idea for an invention or a new product? Brian and Alice Jagosh, the inventors of the halftime drill driver, did. They invented a power drill attachment that lets you drill, flip, and drive in seconds. Brian and Alice licensed their invention to the company that brought you the Snuggie, and it's now selling in major retailers nationwide. Look for the Invent Help Caveman on the package. If you have an invention that you would like to try to patent and submit to companies for possible review and want free information on how Invent Help may be able to assist you, call now. Invent Help is America's largest inventor service company with sales offices in more than 60 cities nationwide. Call Invent Help today for free information. Our clients made a financial gain with their invention, but this is just their individual result. Brian and Alice's experience is not typical, as only a very small number of inventions are licensed or sold in stores.
For your free inventors information, call 1-800-559-8567. That's 1-800-559-8567.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
And welcome back to the Brody File. All right, we have a special treat for you this week. We don't just have one Oy Vey moment of the week. We have two Oy Vey squared. Here they are, the Oy Vey moments of the week. Well, our first Oy Vey comes courtesy of the ABC affiliate in Sarasota, Florida. Here is anchor Haley Wilgis doing a story about a pig. And well, unfortunately, the technical team had a few graphic placement issues.
Pigs are reportedly running rampant in a Venice community. The Jacaranda West Country Club Village has recently reported wild hogs tearing up residents' yards.
Well, I love it. How could we not still that shot? Look at that. Lovely. Miss Piggy. I'm sure she was thrilled. Oy Gavolt. And now the double Oy Vey part. First a pig, now a food story. They're kind of related. We want you to meet Mayor Ed Foley of Jenkintown, Pennsylvania. He wanted to show off the town's variety of restaurants, so he decided to eat at all 24 establishments. He had pancakes, cupcakes, collard greens, mac and cheese, bacon, and yeah, that's right, he even had matzo ball soup. We love this guy, no doubt about it. All right, that does it for this week. Until next time, everybody, God bless. Have a great week.